Hi, I'm Jill. I'm a dollhouse miniaturist of 30 years, and I started this channel to show people how I meet miniature dollhouse challenges. So let's go and see what I'm up to today. So before I start doing the felting, I'll just show you the little faces that I've done so far. I've made a little face for the girl in the kitchen, and another for the lady's maid. And then for the figure that I'll be primarily working on this time around is the clerk for Thomas Hollyoake, who has the Tudor house. So I've given him a sort of a parsimonious looking face, and he has some hands. Now I did detail making hands on day 167. So if you want to have a look, they'll be there, those details. And then I'll get on to building the skeleton out of the chenille sticks. Now before I start doing my figures, I've just done a size thing so that you know how to work out the sizes for your figures. Now basically it's 1 in 12 scale, and so if you're 5.5 feet tall like Mr. Pence is, you're going to be 5.5 inches high, and if you're only 5 foot tall, you're going to be 5 inches high, etc. So little Annie, the girl from the kitchen, she's about 3.6, so she'll be 3.5 inches high. And then I'll use this to actually work out my skeleton, or my framework. So this is something that I've done for a long time. I just have a certain way of doing it. Other people might do it differently. But basically, I fold 2 chenille sticks together, and I allow for a little bit for a neck, and I take it down to about there, and I will trim them up. And I'm just using scissors here because it's quite fine wire, and these are pretty old scissors. And so that will be the height of Mr. Pence. So I'm doing him. Won't get you all confused. And so I will do a little neck, and I'll twist the piece around like that. And basically I want to keep a piece of wire free so that I can insert it into the head. If you can hear a buzzing noise, it's because there's a blowfly somewhere, and it's in its last hours. It's somewhere hidden behind the thing. Okay, so for the hands and the arms, I'll do the same thing basically. I will, where the shoulders will be, I want it to be double, so I'll just do that first, and then take it around this one. Take it out here. So I'm bringing it down, making sure I've had enough of the arms. Then when I get to where I want the hand to be, I'll bend it. Sorry if I'm doing this wrong. You can't see. And take it back, flick it around there once, and take it back down to there. So the arms will have 2 thicknesses as well. And again, I'll just trim that for the time being. It won't be the length of the arm, because the arm has to have a hand on the end of it, but this will do. So now we have arms, neck and body coming down to there with his waist and his torso. I'm just going to use a slightly thicker, doesn't have to, you can use the same thickness, but I just got this, so I'll use it. And I'll just wrap it around here so he has a bit of body. Now Mr. Pence is going to be a skinny sort of an old chap, so he doesn't need a lot of padding. And this will become the basis for the felting. Okay, I might even change that a bit. Sorry. I will take it over his shoulders and come back down that way. That gives him a bit more of a chest. Hope you can see that. I'm sort of filming this myself, which is a bit tricky. And around there. And around there. So now I have his torso and then his legs coming down there. Oh, I did something wrong there. What's happened? I've tucked his arm in there. I'll have to fix that. Just a moment. I've done such a good job. Oh darn. Here we go. I've left this in because it's important for you to know that I make mistakes as well. So here we go again. Round, round, and round. So this, yes, there we go. Okay, so now we've got his legs, arms, neck, torso. Right, now we can start doing the felting bit. I'll just shift that out of the way. Now it's important to have this so you can work on it. You really can't felt without one of these. You can use a kitchen sponge, but it's not big enough and you're likely to stab yourself with it. So you take some of this wool, this yarn, and I'm just showing you what I usually do. So I'll just start off around about here and I wind it around like that and round his middle bit like that, and then I get my felting needle and I start jabbing it down through this. You've got to be really careful when you're doing this initially that you don't actually stab your fingers. It's always good to have a bit of plaster on hand in case you do. And so the hooks on this needle are pulling the yarn up through the body. And when you turn it over, you can do the same thing. And I'm taking the needle down into the foam pad. Now you can kind of see how it's flattening out a little bit. So that means the fibres are actually getting entangled. And when I've pulled it over, I can feel some resistance, which means I've been pushing the fibres into the foam, which means I've been doing the right thing. Now, Mr. Pence is a skinny gentleman, so he doesn't need a lot of padding. I'm going to just cut this arm because I want to have an extra piece. I want to have one wire to go into the hand, not two. Right, now I'm going to do a bit of arm. And again, I just get it squidge it a bit and wrap it around the arm. Well, I think I might take a little bit of it over the chest, that's right, and then wrap it around the arm. And I don't want it to go down too far because I need to be able to put his hand on that, and then it'll be a wrist. So I'm going to just go about there and give myself a good ½ inch of no fibre. So then when I've got that wrapped around like that, I do the same thing. I hope you can see that. And I'm just pushing those fibres through. Just attach that bit there so it doesn't slip down the arm. Now you have to, once you get used to using these needles, you can do clever things, like you can do it from the side as well. but it's very easy to poke yourself in the finger when you do that. And then again from the back. Now I've got a bit of chenille showing there, so I'm just going to put a wee bit more fibre over that. It's not going to hurt him to have a wee bit more on his chest. I'd say it probably takes about an hour to make a little dog. I've made a teddy bear, I think, once in about an hour. It's going to take me a little time to make him. Okay, so I need to be able to do this on the side. Trying to keep myself out of the way of everything sharp. So you can tell it's working when it starts to sort of settle down and become more compact. So this is his front. And I will just put a little bit more on my arm. Just wrapping it around. Again, I'm leaving myself some plain chenille stick for the when I stick his arm on, when I stick his hand on. When I make the hands, I usually make quite a bit of the wrist as well. So there's about ½ an inch wrist there. Taking this over here. This is quite relaxing to do this. Wrapping this around here. I mean, if you wanted to be really realistic, you could make it out of pink. But I just want, I'll be covering all this with clothes, so it doesn't really matter what colour. And I'll start doing his arm. I'd hate to stab myself in front of you. I haven't got a plaster handy. Turn it over. Now for his bottom, and you do need to have a bottom on your dolls because it's handy when you're sitting them, so just as much as it's handy for us to have a bottom to sit on. So what I do is I just put a wee bit more fleece. I'll roll it into a little pillow and I'll just pop it on there like so. Now I'd started to do a maid and I've done her bosoms like that. I've made a little pillow and then I've felted them in place, and so this is basically Mr. Pence's bottom. So I'm shaping it. Now, if you've watched people making animals, they do exactly the same thing with the animals, bottoms and legs. It looks easy, but I'm actually concentrating so that I don't stab myself. You really have to be thinking about what you're doing all the time. You can't really relax because these needles are pretty sharp. A moment in attention. That's a big owie, as my granddaughter would say. Looks like an octopus. Right, so I've got a little bumpy bit there for his bottom. We can refine that later. When we put his legs, when we do his legs, we'll take some more fleece up there, make it a little bit more full, just catching a few spare bits in there. So it's all starting to come together quite well. Right, now we'll do, excuse me, it's a bit of owie going on here. I'll just have to do a little bit between his legs. Sorry. Okay, now a little bit round his legs using two, and again I'm just going to cut the end off one so that I've got one that I can put the wire through into the foot. Wrapping around here. Will do to start with, and there we go. Just need to get a little bit more. So I've just got a bit more fleece and I'm just putting it on his back, on his shoulders, because Mr. Pence is an accountant and a clerk and he's been stooped over his desk for a very long time, so he's going to end up with a slightly hunched back. So this is when you really start to personalize your little creatures, your little dolls, or I call them small people actually because they're not really dolls. And I'm really packing in this fleece now so that it's quite solid. And he's starting to take quite good shape. I'm really happy with the way he's taking shape. Right, so now I'm just going to fold that over on itself again to create this little bit of a bowed shoulder. So everything I'm doing from now on is really consolidating this felt. The more I can do, the better it gets. Okay, so he's got a bit of a hunch there now. And then he's got his bottom. He's still a bit furry, so I'm just going to keep jabbing away and working on him until he is not quite so fluffy. But basically his shape is that. It's padded so that when I put clothes on him, he's going to be quite believable. And I had this thought when I was doing his legs that maybe I should have done his legs in a different coloured fleece to give him stockings, but I've got this maid to do, and I think I'll have a go at doing that with her so she ends up having coloured stockings. So I'll get back to you on that, and we'll just leave you for a minute while I just do a lot more poking about and getting him looking really solid, and then we will finish. So now you can see he's pretty much finished in his body. He's got a bottom. He's got a little bit of shape to his legs, but that's not so important because he won't be showing off his legs, this little man. He'll have a gown on, so that won't matter so much. And so I'm ready now to dress him, and I put the hands and the feet and the heads on right at the end. But I will just show you, if I can find his face, which seems to have gone and hiding somewhere. I'll show his hands. So I slip that wire into the hole that I've made in the hand, so you can see how it works. That's why I've left one wire, because two don't fit into that hole. I'll have to make that arm a bit shorter, but that's fine. So his head will go, gosh, where's his head gone to? It's disappeared. I'll have to, so now I've added a little bit more in, and I've given him a really good poke over with my needle, which unfortunately now I've broken. So I have to get another one. This is my last needle. They do break eventually because they get quite brittle. But unfortunately I'm finished. Now I've made him quite solid. There is no reason why you can't go around and cut all the furry bits off. It's not going to fall apart. It just makes him a little less hairy. So that's good. And then his head will go on here when I've got him closed, and his hands will go on here with the one wire. So you can see he'll be taking shape. So I don't do anything more to him until I've got his clothes made, and then I will do all his other little bits and pieces. So we'll do that tomorrow. Meanwhile, when you weren't looking, I did a bit more work on the maid, and I gave her some green socks. Now I could have given Mr. Pence some socks, but I didn't think about it until later. So I've wrapped some green fleece, which you can get in different colours, around her feet, and I've made them rather thick because I think she's a short, stocky woman, and she's got quite thick legs, so that's fine. That's worked out quite well. I'm just stabbing with a broken needle, but it seems to be working anyway. And she's got a bit of shape to her, and she's got a bottom, and she'll end up with a head. Bit of a long neck at the moment, but she'll end up with a head about there. So she'll look quite good. So tomorrow I will finish him off. I'll make some clothes for him, and I'll put his hands and feet on and make a pair of shoes so you can see how those are made. And then Mr. Pence will be ready to start work.